Hi everyone, I'm doing my John Maxwell, and the chapter that I read was on values. So it's interesting to think about values and where we get them from. I listened to an interesting talk by Paul Kagame from Rwanda, and he was saying, when you talk about values, what values are you talking about? Because culture impacts values. So here in Toronto, we've had this groundbreaking news that our mayor is resigning. And frankly, I am happy. I'm glad he's resigning. I know with my spiritual director, Sister Eileen, she told me, well, sometimes in marriages things are not that great and sometimes things don't work out. And I was like, you know what, Sister Eileen, if that's the case, they should get divorced or they shouldn't get married at all. Because for me, he's a big letdown. He was there when we launched our One in Canada campaign. He was there and a lot of other influential people, including Bono. But Bono didn't come out with us. He came and he took a photo with us. But after that, there was a complete lack of support. So basically, John Maxwell is saying, make a list of your values and try to practice them every day. In my tradition, in the Catholic tradition, we have what we call the examen, where at the end of the day, we thank God for our blessings, we note our failures, and we ask God to help us, to strengthen us, to do better for the next day. But culture is very, very important, especially when it comes to women's rights. I have a lot of friends that I've made through Regis College, people I know who came here from India. And I've said to them, well, people say that India is still backwards. They still kill girls when they want to get into good positions and have positions where they can earn good money. And they said, yes, it is true. And there's a lot of persecution of Christians in India, but they don't talk about it. So I think it's important to remember our cultures, to remember the families we come from, whether we've been supported in our education, in our dreams, in wanting to earn better salaries. And in Canada, this whole thing, the notion is that people should be at the same level if they're going to get into a relationship. The reason being is that a woman or a man can say yes out of pressure, right? So with my example, all the banks I worked at, whenever Jane Green called saying Eddie was hoping to be friends with her, and every time she was told no, she doesn't want that, she doesn't want to be his friend. And I told the team when I was there that I said no. They all knew, but they carried on for years and years and years. They carried on, and it upset me. I got hurt. They still carried on. Then it went to the police. The police turned around and blamed my family. I did that stupid psychiatric assessment. I got hurt. Now I work in a call center where I also get hurt because the Americans are rude and vulgar. Some of them, like I had one call where the guy told me, you don't have any damn authority, you're just the damn answering service. That's how they talk to us. So for me, I don't come from that kind of a background. In Africa, in the Zimbabwe where I came from, when I grew up and as an adult, when people had something not work out and they didn't get their product, yes, they would get upset, but they wouldn't swear at us like that and shout at us like that. And the Americans do it because they can. And they're Americans, so they feel entitled. And I tell them, I'm also a human being. Treat me with some respect. I do know my job. I know what I'm doing. And if you're not going to treat me with respect, then call back and speak to somebody else. Because it's not right. They can't treat me that way just because they feel like it. Even if you're frustrated and even if you're angry, you didn't get something. And I'm just there to do a job and to help you. But no, they take it out on you. And you expected to say that that's okay. It's not okay. I tell them, I came here from Zimbabwe, and where I come from, my human rights, you can't treat me that way. If you want to treat your American women that way, then, and you think they'll take it, go ahead and do it, but don't do it to me. And I told Jane Green the same thing. I told Credit Suisse the same thing. Even when I asked for a pay increase and their HR told me at TD and at Credit Suisse, they're not going to make an exception for you. I said, I never asked for an exception to be made. The managers who I supported came to you and they asked you to increase my salary. I never asked for it, so don't take it out on me. I told him. The banks don't like it. Well, now what goes around comes around. Now they're learning. Credit Suisse is suffering. The banks are losing money, and all the banks are interconnected. Even with John Tory, I'm glad he stepped down because he hurt us. He hurt the public of Canada. We put our trust in him to serve and to protect. And people can say, oh, well, you have to have an open mind. Open mind about what? If it was your husband or your wife, would you like it to find out that they were having an affair? Would you like that? You take your vow, you promise to be faithful to each other, and then you find out somebody's having an affair. And even the person that's having an affair, they're fooling themselves if they think that their emotions are not getting involved. Why did they have that affair in the first place? Because they were attracted to somebody and they were looking for something. And then in the end, most times, they go back to their partners. So I'm glad I stood my ground. Yes, they are hurting me. They continue to hurt me. But I put my faith in God. I've come up so far. I've done good so far. And I'm going to continue to hold to those values that I value. Because in the olden days, it wasn't only the women that got stoned. They stoned the men and the women in the Israeli culture and in the Middle East. Here today, everyone blames the woman, but it wasn't always that way. And then even people say, oh, you should look at how you dress and all that. So look at how some of the men dress today. They go around half naked. Women should be allowed to wear what they want. I'm not saying go out with your, dress nicely, yes, but there's nothing wrong with wearing a mini skirt or with wearing something with a nice bodice. There's nothing wrong with it. So I push back and I get a lot of flack for it, and I stand alone. I know that. But I do it because I was raised by a strong grandmother, and I was raised to make my own choices and my own decisions. I don't want to be tracked when I'm traveling, when I'm going overseas, and people saying, oh, we just worried about her. Worried about me for what? I'm perfectly capable of traveling on my own. When I went to England, yes, I had jet lag. I got off at the wrong stop when I was going to my friend, but I'm perfectly capable of it. I don't need anybody to chaperone me or treat me like a child or try to make out like, oh, she can't make any good decisions. We're so worried about her. No. And the women, what we go through here, the discrimination, it's not only me. I've spoken to many South Africans, many Zimbabweans. A few of them have had the privilege of being coached or having doors open for them. The rest of us have not. There are a lot of people in Vancouver, in Toronto, who are all in minimum wage jobs or they're working contracts and we can't make ends meet. They will say, oh, come to Canada, bring your skills, we need you, brain drain. But when you come here, you get the worst jobs and you get the worst pay. And when you ask for a little bit more or your managers want to promote you, you get pushback. So it's who you know. It's the reality, the Chows and all these people, the Asian people that have had doors open for them, they've been involved or they've married white people or they've gotten involved, they've had families who have worked and they're second generation or third generation. Most of us don't get that. And most of us, if Africa was okay, would have gone back. But it's a disaster. So it's not only me that's going through it. And they can talk about their values all they want. I did all this, John Maxwell. I invested in the books, I got my license and everything. It's all about pacifying them and making them feel like they're kings and you are nothing. Oh, can I help you with that? I'm so sorry that didn't work out. We don't talk like that to people. So you didn't get your product? Let me see what I can do. This is what I can do and this is how I can fix it. Yeah, you have to say, I'm so sorry that didn't work out. How can I help you? Is there anything else I can do for you? What would you like to add to your cart? Let me tell you what I can do for you. So that's how you have to talk. That's what they want. That's what they're teaching us. Have a blessed day. And you also have to be careful. Like, look at that. There was a child that got killed in the deep south. Sorry, my camera fell. But there was a child that got killed in the deep south. He was sent there to live with somebody. And he wolf whistled at a white woman. She got frightened. Her husband came home. They killed him. They took him out and they beat him and they killed him. Worst crime in America. There was another crime in America where these kids were in the park. A white woman was jogging. They found some kids. They took them. The police questioned them without lawyers being there, without any counsel. They intimidated them and they put them in prison for life. So you can't tell me that injustice only happens in Zimbabwe. It doesn't. It happens right here in Canada. It happens in America. And then they're saying, oh, she told too many people. I'm glad I told people. Because if I didn't tell people, they were coming after me. They were coming after my family. Oh, you're delusional. You don't know what you heard. You don't know what you saw. I know what I heard and what I saw. They didn't want to admit it. That's the problem. They didn't want to pay me a settlement and they didn't want to release me. Oh no, we like her. We like her. It was very sweet of her to leave the chocolates. And everyone asked him, so why did you take a cease and desist against her? Lawyers read my emails that I sent to Credit Suisse. And they said there's nothing wrong with your emails. They are in the wrong. And even with the police said, oh, you sent too many emails, so why didn't you tell me to stop? At no point did you say, stop sending the emails. Then when Pearson Airport told me to report what happened with the security guard saying Eddie liked me, they turned around and they used it against me. I got summoned to the police station like a common criminal. And I was told, this is your family, we don't want to see you here again. You can't even talk to somebody and have a conversation with them. I told him, I don't like Eddie, I want this to stop. I was very clear. But I got punished. I got put into a job that I am overqualified for. But I do it, you know why? Because it's an income. And then when I phoned my family to ask them, they said, we don't know anything. We don't know those people. So I told them that my family are saying they don't know anything. So when you talk about values, you talk about trust, you talk about integrity, you talk about honesty, you must know what culture you're dealing with, because these people at the top all know each other and they all support each other. There was also one of my managers when I worked at TD, she told me, oh, that reporter's sleeping with somebody at RPC. I said, oh, why are you telling me? I don't want to know. It's none of my business. She said, no, I'm just telling you because you must know when you work with these executives how they are. Another executive told me you have to be careful because some of these traders bring prostitutes in. I don't want you working late. I was shocked. I said, really, in the bank? He's like, yeah, they bring them. He said, I don't want you working late. But when I worked at Teleperformance, I didn't have a choice. I used to work overnight, start at 1 a.m., start at midnight. I didn't have a choice, but I did it. Even with my anxiety, I did it. So thank God today I'm okay. My anxiety is under control. Not to say that, like any normal person, if somebody's screaming at me and shouting at me and yelling at me, of course I'm going to get anxious. Any normal human being would. But I don't need medication. And God has helped me to pull through. Things are very, very hard financially. I don't make enough money. I don't make the 70,000, 80,000 that people with my qualifications are making as executive assistants or as HR professionals. I don't make it. And when I apply overseas, I get blocked. But I'm going to keep trying, I'm going to keep applying. And I'm glad John Tory stepped down. Whatever they did, and if the church was supporting him, I hope they were not, but if the church was supporting him, God will judge them for that. Because I did not know about any of this, and I don't think most people knew. I don't support people having an affair. The same thing happened at BMO. People were coming and telling me, oh, I've got a girlfriend and a wife. What's that got to do with me? If you want to live your life that way, live it. Don't come and tell me, because I will tell you I don't support it. So choose your values. I choose mine, and I get a lot of pushback for it, but I don't care. I'm going to live my life and my values. There are a lot of people who fought for the rights that I have today. There are a lot of black people, Indian people, white people that fought for it. And Joe Biden says, oh, I've never had to have the talk with my son about the police. Good for you, buddy. People did. White people did. In Zimbabwe and South Africa, they had the talk because they supported us in what we were doing. People like Elvis Presley got arrested because of what they were doing. I never ever thought I'd get summoned to the police station and treated the way I was treated in this country. But it's happened because of my values. You have to think critically. And the one thing I did, I got my education. I got my master's at the Jesuit College, and that has taught me to think critically. I'm glad John Tory stepped down. It's good.